broadcasting booth today by XRL Fiend. Fiend, so close yet so far for you getting victory at X3. Just missed it by a little bit more than a tenth of a second at the end due to penalty countback. But I think second is good enough that you can speak from experience. What can we be expecting today in the X2 race here at Australia?
Welcome. X2. What can we expect? We can expect a lot of things. We can expect safety cars. We can expect brilliant overtakes. We can expect people trying to overtake in places that they probably shouldn't be overtaking. And we can expect plenty of entertainment.
All right, it's Australia week. Today we're going to be talking about Fine Waldo. We're going to be talking about XRL Zola. We're going to be talking about XRL Edgar. Do you find that amusing? Do you find it amusing that we're going to be talking about Levin? Yes, we're also going to be talking about XRL Low, RV Lobby, Davis Don, XRL Torpedo, and we will most definitely be spending a lot of time talking about Mr. Neon 713. Alright, but anyways, so Australia as a circuit is a very difficult circuit to really navigate around, let alone make overtakes that. It's very Mickey Mouse-y, because realistically this is not a permanent racetrack, it's a park that has been nice enough that some of the roads have a double purpose to also be used for racing purposes.
Yes.
So a lot of the corners here are really, really jank, a lot of 90-degree corners, especially in Sector 3. Sector 3 is almost all 90-degree corners, which makes it honestly a pain in the... One good news, though, about that is that a lot of the corners are nice and wide, so there's some decent runoff in some places of the track. Another thing to consider, although we have 3 different DRS zones on the circuit, I'm going to be 100% honest, none of them are really that ideal for overtaking. You almost are required to have the person ahead make a big mistake if you actually want to make an overtake stick.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this track is so... it's so tight in some of the corners that there's only really 1 or 2 places you can overtake. Basically, either get an overtake done before a braking zone in DRS, or, like you said, have the driver make a mistake.
Yeah. Well, the good news is, by the looks of it, it's going to be an 18-car field. We had, I believe it was 19 cars in the X3 race. So, by the way that looks, we should... Oh, I take it back. We now have 19 drivers. So, that means that 4 drivers will be in the drop zone when we get into the race start here. Once we get going. I'm honestly shocked we haven't started moving yet. We're actually running just a little bit behind, seems. Okay, so we're having issues getting people in. Okay, so we are looking at what might be a full field then in that case. Fiend, real quickly, in today's X3 race, what was your tire strategy and how well do you think that would transfer into today's race here for X2?
It's very close between a 2-stop and a 1-stop. So I started in X3 on soft tyres, hoping to do a 1-stop, but then when the strategy came up before the start of the race, it was saying a 2-stop, and then safety cars and everything. So drivers can choose to do what they can choose, either a 1-stop or a 2-stop. They can either do soft medium or soft hard, or a medium soft or a medium hard. Bearing in mind safety cars, that could easily change to a 2-stop.
All right, one other thing to consider, though, when we get into this race, safety cars almost seem to be a guarantee here. There are a lot of very problematic corners here. You have the first corner in Sector 3, which leads into a DRS straight. It's very easy to run wide there, put a tire on the rumble strip, put the power down, and immediately spin into the wall, taking yourself out and leaving debris everywhere. Yeah. Turn 5 has been a major problem zone here. We've also seen a few spins in the mid part of Sector 3. A big element of today's race, I'm going to be 100% honest, is just strategy, getting lucky with strategy and surviving. Overtakes don't really mean a lot, and honestly, even your starting position in this race doesn't mean a whole lot. What really comes down to is just getting lucky when the safety cars fall and not getting caught up in someone else's mess and not causing a mess of your own.
Yeah, and when a safety car does come out, it's all about track position as well. I mean, you don't want to be so far down the grid that you can't catch back up, because overtaking is tricky, like you said. So, you know, it's a decision between either staying out on worn tyres or pitting onto fresh tyres and being behind.
Yeah. And Fiend, you had relatively fresh tires going to the end of the X3 race, and even then, it still took you numerous by somebody who was on much more worn tires, simply because, again, the difficulty in overtaking here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, to overtake someone on the track, you've got to be really, really lucky in some parts. I will say this about X3 though. Veloce is a very, very good driver, and we were about the same pace even with his worn tires. So another driver in that position probably wouldn't have given such a good fight, if you know what I mean.
Now you make a very good point. Well, right now we're waiting to see who the first person to come out onto the circuit is, and it looks like it's going to be an Alfa Romeo of XRL Low. It looks like I think he's the only Alfa Romeo going to be partaking in today's event at that. So,
and the race director says that it's going to be an all-dry race as well. So, no threat of rain. We expect. Doesn't mean this game won't give us rain, but.
Yeah, yesterday in the realistic league, it said that qualifying was supposed to be dry all the way through. And instead, all of Q2 and all of Q3 was soaked on the racetrack. So, yeah.
And last week in X3 as well, it said at Brazil that it was going to be wet all the way throughout qualifying, and then it dried up. So we just don't know, do we?
Nope, that's one of the fun things about this, though, is that you never really know for certain how the weather's going to come out, and it can make for some really fun shenanigans in qualifying. A little bit more aggravating in the race, but thankfully, we've not had a whole lot of races over the last several months in X2, X3, realistic, or dev that starts dry and goes wet, or starts wet and goes dry. It's basically been a scenario where whatever it starts in, that's what it's pretty much finished in.
Pardon, sorry, my headset decided that was the best possible time to switch itself off.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. As we watch XRL Low coming out of the final corner, he's going to try and be the first driver to set a lap time. That will be the benchmark that everyone else is going to chase. 15 of these 19 drivers will have a chance to advance into Q2. Relatively clean, just being able to get a good lap in, though, seems to have been the big thing between the last 3 races that I've been able to see at Australia over this weekend. If you can just get a lap in, not a trash lap obviously, but if you can just get a single decent lap in, you're almost guaranteed to get out of Q1. You cannot afford to wreck the car though, because yes, starting position doesn't really mean a lot at the front, but if you're in the back and you have a bad start, you're just asking to be put in a hole for the entire race.
Yes. Yeah, you don't want to be starting at the back. Although we saw with Constant Jet earlier, didn't we, that he we saw with Constant Jet earlier, didn't we, something, so that it doesn't matter.
Yes, this is true. He didn't even make it out. Yeah, he started at the back and basically spent the first 2/3 of the race at the back, but after the final restart, he actually stepped up to the plate, and while nearly everyone around him was spilling their spaghetti, he came out of there with a 7th place finish. That's good enough to give him, I believe, 5 points at the end. Great turnaround for his season, because he had not yet earned any points in that category.
Exactly. So he's got points now, which is great. And yeah, so what's happening with this then? Let's have a look.
XRLO finally is going to come across the line. He'll set the first lap of the session, 1:23.449, but I imagine we'll see that time pick up a bit. Jan has invalidated his lap. RB Lama is in the middle of the lap right now as well. Azda in the middle of the lap. He'll come across the line and take the new top with a 1:22.057, so good job on Azda's part. Now Levin crosses the line with a 1:23.774 as well. And Dino, he crosses the line to begin his flying lap. Oh, and he's around! And into the outside wall coming out too, and the car is destroyed.
Oh, he has DNF'd from this qualifying session. At least he's off track, so it's not gonna...
Yeah, but still, frustration for Dino. He's not been able to make a whole lot of races recently, so he was looking to start turning everything around today. Sadly, it does not look like it's going to work out very well for him. I'm trying to see if I can get him into the party right now. I'm having a little bit of bad luck with that, though. Alright, Well, this now trims the field down to 18 drivers, so 3 more will get squeezed out. The lone retreat in the middle of a lap right now. He's just begun one. There's also Zola, who has recently come out onto the circuit. He's trying to get a lap in. Right now, though, the spread is about 1.7 seconds between Ozza at the top and Levin down there in 6th. Ozza now goes faster, 121.879. So he's already down into the 121s, but it took us until Q3 for us to see that in X3. So, yeah, much quicker pace here right now. As we watch XRL Young coming out of the final corner, he'll try and be the 7th driver to set a lap time. It will be a 1:23.277. That's good enough for 5th at the moment.
Not bad. Not bad at all. Oh, right then. So, lone retreats racing.
And he's coming down through Sector 3 right now, about to get a lap in. XRL Flavor, who he's run almost every single race. I've watched your broadcast this weekend. He had a run in Dev. He ran in the Realistic. He ran in X3. Now he's a reserve here for the X2 race as well. So very, very busy weekend for him. There's been a McLaren that's had an incident in Sector 2. That's XRL Young.
And
backwards on the circuit, but it looks like he'll be able to get away. The problem is, though, that entire front wing ripped off the car.
And while Young Maneuver spins, the lone retreat goes up into 2nd place. The 122.1.
Flavor and Torpedo both at about the same part in the track in Sector 2 there. You see the McLaren, the wounded McLaren, just a little bit farther back. All right, coming in the line is Davis Dawn. We're going to go ahead, run silence in the booth, and ride for a full lap on board the AlphaTauri Davis Dawn around here in Australia.
And Jevis John goes into 9th.
128.836. So 10 drivers have now set their lap times. Mr. Neon has invalidated his own, but Matrix, Torpedo, and Flavor all in the middle of laps. I say that, but Flavor, although he is in the middle of a legal lap, he has had an instant there in Sector 1. The entire front wing's been ripped off that car. So right now the focus goes to Torpedo coming out of the final corner.
What can he do?
23.333.
All the threes.
Now the focus goes to Matrix. Matrix, formerly known as Mr. Anderson, one of your championship contenders. He's been out of the championship lead for a little bit in X2, but he's been crawling points back over the last few weeks.
Oh, and he's binned it.
Oh, and he's around! And a massive accident! Not an error we've seen a lot of instances at, but... And here comes a Mercedes. That's Azda, and Azda has to avoid hitting him.
I think we can get Matrix to the bottom.
As Waldo and Leon now become the next drivers trying to get a lap in. All right, and coming into the party is Mr. Anderson, now known as XRL Matrix. Matrix, a gigantic accident in Sector 2. What happened there?
I hit the curve and it went spin. So now I start back at the deep, back to Dino. Whatever. See, I hate this track.
Right.
You know from yesterday, I didn't like it.
So, with that in mind, what do you think you can do in the race?
Then no, like I hope I want points. Like anything can happen in this, but it's an absolute pain in the butt to overtake. Like it's such a tight track, and if at any point you could lose it on those curves. It's that lethal. You could also get beached on one of the curves, which we've seen in the next one, which isn't great either. I just knew going round that corner. I took it too fast and hit the curve the wrong bit and died. Yeah.
All right, well, still a championship in play for you. Hopefully you can at least preserve and get a few points today, and we're not talking to you again.
Yeah, I hope so, but we'll see.
All right, well, that's the word from XRL Matrix. As Pelly crosses the line with the 123.153. Thank you. Now the focus goes to Fletch, Smoothie, and Flavor, as those are the next three drivers who need to set a lap time here.
Fletch has
invalidated his current lap.
Yeah, Fletch invalidated. And Asda's just gone quickest overall.
121.849, so Asda keeps cracking off these fantastic laps in that Mercedes.
So Smooth coming up to the final couple of corners. What can he do?
Zola has come back out onto the circuit. He does not feel confident with that 123.7.
And Smooth
By the way it's looking, it looks like if you're in the 122s, you will make it into the next round of qualifying. Smoothie jumps over Zola with a 123.430, so the focus now goes to Fletch, who is now in the middle of another lap. Only one driver has broken the 122 barrier, and that's XRL Azza. Not only has Azza broken the 122 barrier, he's shattered it down at 121.8. So definitely showcasing his strengths today, but he may have to fight against the Ferraris of Edgar and Pelly and the Lone Retreat for that pole position once he gets to Q3, assuming obviously that none of them crash out. Fletch coming to the line. He just has 3 more corners now, 2 more corners to navigate in that Alpine. Azza will retire in pit lane. Doesn't need to push any harder, obviously.
So Fletch, what can he do? He can stay in 16th place. Not quite enough to get into the top 15 with a 123.9. Still needs a couple of tenths off that to get in there.
And with less than 4.5 minutes left, Zola is on the bubble with a 23.7. Can he improve? He's up by over 1/3 of a second at the end of Sector 1 alone. Zola trying to leapfrog over Collie Boy. But Zola needs to be faster by about 4/10 if he wants to make it happen at the end of Sector 2. He's up by almost half a second, so it's going to be close for any invalidates. No good news for Zola as he ends up invalidating there. He has only 4 cars on track right now, but he will have time to come around and go for another shot as he's starting the ERS back up now.
Yeah, he'll be able to do another one easily.
Fletch in the middle of another lap himself. He's trying to improve. I'm gonna be honest, I really don't like Sector 3 on this circuit. It's just a series of 90-degree corners. And they're wide enough to go side by side through, but outside of the first one, It doesn't matter if you're side by side. It all comes down to who's on the inside lane. I really
Yeah.
don't like Sector 3 here.
I mean, Sector 3 is just a way of building up ERS so that you can use it on the main straight and the other DRS.
And I wouldn't even have a problem with that if not for the fact that the first straight and the second straight are so short that it kind of doesn't matter regardless. But that's just me. Anyways, Fletch really backed off on that prior lap, and he didn't even come close to being his prior time. So right now, Fletch, Zola, and Flavor are the ones all fighting for the 15th spot right now. Flavor not having a great run coming out of turn 3 there. So again, the focus is on Zola and Fletch. Yun Maneuver, XRO Yun, has come back out onto the circuit and is trying to go for another run at. And it looks like Collie Boy is merging onto the circuit because he's not super confident his time of 123.313 will be good enough to get him into the next round.
Zola this time not invalidated his lap in Sector 3.
He is very low on fuel, though, so even if he has the time, he's not going to have the fuel necessary to go for another run. Oh, he's very wide.
Lucky.
Not a great exit.
And he's backed off. And
yeah,
he's
well, he's not going to have... I think that's it for Zola. Zola at this point just has to hope that Fletch and Flavor can't put a good lap, and Fletch is up by 6/10 this lap, though. Fletch might squeeze Zola out.
22.8 puts him
does.
into P10, so Zola down in 16th.
And now Collie Boy is on the bubble with his teammate Flavor trying to squeeze him out.
Flavor now on the main straight. What time will he set?
Not close enough. He's in the 125 to the 25.0.
Enough for 17th.
So Collie Boy knows that I don't know if he's aware that Zola doesn't have the fuel to go for another run.
Or maybe he's coming out just to be safe more than anything, so that if he needs to set
Collie's going
one,
for it all right.
Yeah, if he needs to set a lap, he can do that. Not waiting for the time to go down. Young is coming around the final corner.
I do want to give credit to Fletch. It definitely took him a while, but he put down a great lap in the end, good enough for 10th with a 122.856.
Yeah, solid.
Good job on his part.
Very solid. And that was a nice little chicane there from Flavor. Sorry.
No, it's fine. Right now the question is, can Flavor get out of the drop zone? He needs to improve by about 2 full seconds if he wants to make it happen.
Well, whether he does or doesn't, he's giving it his all. And this is looking a little bit quicker, to be honest. Yeah, about 6/10 quicker, but still not quick enough to
Not even close. Yeah, not close enough. And that means with that in mind, Collie Boy can abort his lap. He's fine. Does not have to push hard.
Cool, he's safe for Q2. Maybe he'll set it anyway, just to prove a point. A little bit of mind games. Looks like he's doing that, so let's see what he does. 4/10 slow.
He lost he lost a bunch of time in Sector 3 that time around.
Yeah,
so.
he did. And then it was...
Now once Yun crosses the line, we will be done with this session. Not trying to rhyme there, I'm sorry about that. But yeah, so 15 drivers advance into the next round of qualifying. This entire week, I have not been able to see the results at the end of Q1. It always immediately goes straight to Q2.
Does it really?
Which, I mean, that's not... Yeah, I've not been able to see Q1 results at all.
Right, so we are saying goodbye to XRL Matrix in 19th, XRL Dino in 18th, XRL Flavor in 17th with a 124.4, and in 16th, XRL Zola with a 123.7. So, Q2.
Now the question becomes, what tire compound do you want to start the race on? Based off of what I've seen, though, it seems almost universal that the medium tires just do not have the pace that the softs have. Almost everyone I can imagine will be in the top 10 at the end of this will be on the soft tire compounds.
Yeah.
Right now, Fletch and the Lone Retreat are the only guys in pit lane that have mediums on. I'm seeing movement in the Mercedes camp. I believe that's going to be XRL Ozda, who, yes, Ozda looks like he's going to try and be the first driver onto the circuit. He is going to be slightly beat, though. That is the Lone Retreat in the Williams, who's the first guy to get on track.
Yeah. What tires to be on? So, Ozda's on softs. The Lone Retreat's out on mediums. Levin's out on softs. Cooley Boy's out on softs. And an Alpine of RB Llama out on softs. And Edgar as well. I missed out Edgar. So I'm Edgar on softs as well. So one driver on mediums, everyone else on softs for now. It may be worth doing a lap on mediums just to see what kind of time you do, because you will get the advantage at the end of the race on those soft tyres.
Looks like Fletch is now beginning his run down pit lane. He's also on the mediums, but everyone else has the softs equipped. Llama invalidates, but against an outlap doesn't really matter too much. The real focus is going to be, what can Ozda do? Ozda moved up into X2 at the start of the season, ended up missing a lot of races earlier on due to a variety of reasons, but he's come back with a vengeance and has put down a lot of very good results over the last several weeks.
Yeah, last week he raced really, really well around Brazil. Hoping for more of the same today, talking to him earlier.
Alright, Ozda now beginning his flying lap. A little bit behind him is the Lone Retreat. You can already see the gap the two of them has been open between the two of them. Up into 8th gear at the end of the second DRS straight, and then starts jumping back down the gears with speed. 3rd gear going through 3, 4th gear going through turn 4. He'll be higher than 5th gear going into turn 5, though. He's in 6th, 7th on exit. Then he's going to have just enough of a straight that he can throw it into 8th, then brings it back down into 4th as you're into sector 2 now. Hang out in about 7th gear through the majority of here. You'll jump into 8th gear just before the braking zone. He actually chooses not to. He'll stay in 7th before the braking zone.
You know, this is a really
And now,
clean
while
lap.
this isn't quite a straightaway, but you're on the throttle throughout this entire gradual bend. He gets up to about 182 miles an hour at the end of it.
Nice, solid.
Very smooth through the curbs. That car's low on gas, but he is still flying, so this could be a great lap for him. Now it's just through these last 90 corners. Oh, and an instant on the Lone Retreat will take him out of contention. He's just a little bit off the main racing line, but that rear suspension completely destroyed. Ozda coming to the line now.
Ozda, really clean lap from him. Really clean, a
121.7.
Yeah, 121.7, really clean. Good solid lap for Q2. And XRL low, 123.4. And Edgar going into second with a 122.0. Fletcher's invalidated, so is Llama.
So right now, that means that the next focus for newest driver to put a lap down will be Levin. They're in 5th position. Is it just me, or does it look like the sky's starting to turn a little bit dark and ominous?
It does a little bit, doesn't it? It's starting to turn dark. A lot of people won't be happy to see this. A few will be happy to see that. But I think the majority will be like, oh gosh, get a lap in. Before if rain is coming, obviously, which we don't know. I mean, we do, because it's going to be dry, but... Oh, Neon, get out the way. Yeah, okay, fine.
He's clear. He's out of the way by the time that Levin comes across to start his lap. Fletch in the middle of another lap, as is RB Llama. I believe he's going to be doing another lap here.
J-Leb. But he didn't invalidate, and that's the main thing.
Nine and a half minutes left in the session, but only 3 drivers have set times. Now 4, I take that back, as Llama finally comes across with 22.1. I think like what we saw in the last session, if you can get into the 22s, you should be good to be in for the pole shootout.
Potentially, still a lot of drivers left that haven't set time, so... Oh, Fletcher's the wrong way round. Oh, dear. I wonder what happened to him.
Oh. Whatever it is, it was a medium tire.
Okay, lovely.
Yeah,
lovely.
That's bullcrap, but this game has given off a lot of bullcrap penalties over its history.
Yeah, and J-Leb will have got this in next lap invalidation as well. Going wide on the final corner exit.
So now it goes to Mr. Neon to be the next driver to set a lap, him and then XRL Yun. Excuse me, I'm sorry about that. All right, coming to the party now is Fletch 2020. Fletch, go ahead and include your audio. A spin and a, frankly, bullcrap disqualification. What happened out there? Both drivers who attempted to set laps on the medium tires are now out of Q2. So now I have to ask, do you think that you would still try and start the race on mediums, though, considering the bad luck and bad fortune it seems to have brought? All right, I can respect that by saying, well, thank you, irregardless, for being in and share with us what happened. It's a shame to see you knocked out this early on in Q2, though. Alright, so at this point, every single driver on track on the soft tire compounds, and I imagine it's going to be this way to the end. Neon finally gets a lap in, 122.072, so the focus now goes to XRL Yun, who comes out of the final corner, pops open the DRS, leans hard on the ERS, will cross the line with a time of 123.565. Not a good run by Yun.
No, he'll be wanting to go again, won't he? He's got a lot.
Well, it looks like he has the fuel necessary to go for another lap. He's leaning pretty hard on the ERS as well, so I think he might be able to get one more faster lap in.
Yeah, I think he could. Oh, is that Fine Waldo? Fine Waldo made a bit of a mistake on his quick lap.
Torpedo aborted the out lap that he was in the middle of. And now we see Pelly, he's in the middle of an out lap, as is Smoothie and Jabus John. So it's taking a long time in this session for drivers to get laps in, honestly.
Yeah, about finding they want to come out when the track is a little bit more rubbered down, you know, so you can go a bit quicker. And also a gap.
Neon spins. Well. Neon has had a spin on his cooldown lap there in the final DRS cell. Now, it doesn't look like he's hit anything. But if he was holding back to go for another flyer, I'd be a little bit bullish on the tires actually being able to keep it together. Looks like it's the same from the Aston Martin camp. He will abort and come into the pit lane now.
Yeah, and XRL Young aborts his lap as well.
So now it goes to XRL Pelly, Smoothie 25, and coming across the line, Davis Town. Those will be the next 3 drivers to set laps. Levin is on an out lap right now, and Fine Waldo, you pointed out the mistake he made earlier there at the top of the racetrack in Sector 2, and Llama's had an accident! No, I'm sorry.
No.
Whew. I saw a yellow light flash at the same moment that Llama retired, and I thought Llama crashed out. But no, Llama is satisfied with his 22.1. The McLaren of Smoothie 25 has a bit of a hiccup there in Sector 2. But it is still a legal lap for him, but it's going to be a bit of a slow one by the looks of it.
Yeah, he'll get a lap in, but like you say, he made a bit of a mistake. And who's that then? I guess it's just a car slowing down for him. Pelly as well coming around sector 3. So they're the next two that we'll be looking at.
Starting the ERS back up, if you time it all right. And coming into the party now is the Lone Retreat. The Lone Retreat, go ahead and cruise your audio. Big accident early on in Q2. What happened out there? All right, well, looks like you're going to be starting in 14th position. Obviously, we know it's very hard to make overtakes here. Do you have a strategy moving forward in this event?
Cool.
All right, well, shame to see you out like that, but thanks for being willing to jump in and talk with us. Hopefully, your race turns out a lot better than that. And Levin invalidates.
Big corner cut from J-Leb to invalidate his lap.
Yeah, but the good news for Levin is that although he ended up invalidating, he was able to save the car and keep it from crashing there, so he will live to set another lap.
He will indeed. Who's behind him? Is that Lowe? Oh, Lowe's going slow. Helly.
Collie Boy in the middle of the lap, the only Red Bull. Oh, and there's been that's fine. Waldo, who's had an accident there, or not maybe a full-on accident, but a spin.
Oh, he's
coming
had a
out
spin,
of turn
hasn't he?
1. And that is in the middle of a flying lap. So Fine Waldo, another championship contender, might find himself getting squeezed out before even getting into the next round qualifying. Again, it's hard to tell because only 9 drivers have set lap times. And even at that, Extra Young, who has set a lap, 23.5 is not a great lap. So a lot of people are kind of waiting until the last minute to get a good clean lap. And people have been trying, but have been invalidating, spinning off, or such.
Just making little mistakes. J-Leb has invalidated again, so...
Collie Boy's invalidated his lap as well, so the focus now goes to Extra Torpedo. He'll be the next one to get a lap in.
If he can make this chicane. Which he does. Just about.
That was close, but it's legal. But one guy did make it, and that's Levin. Right behind him has a spin coming out of it. The good news, Levin arrested the spin before it got too bad. And he'll live to set another lap, but those tires are not going to be very happy with him right now.
No, he'll have to let them cool down, won't he? So, Torpedo coming across the line to set a valid lap. And he set a 23.3, so going a little bit quicker than XRL Young, but still half a second behind 8th place.
Yeah, Yun is in the middle of an outlap right now, ready to fight back. Waldo will cross the line, but this lap, while it will be legal, won't be serious considering he had the spin at the start of it. So he's going to transfer it right into another flyer, going through turns 1 and 2. Good exit this time.
Oh, J-Lo.
Yun now crossing the line to get another flyer in. Minute and 10 seconds left, so this will be the last chance for a lot of the drivers on track right now.
So Waldo needs this lap then, otherwise he's out. Well, yeah, otherwise he'll be out, won't he?
Indeed.
Waldo
trying to get a proper lap in. Levin trying to get a lap in. Collie Boy's only going to have one chance at a lap as well.
Yeah, Waldo, if he invalidates this lap, he'll still be able to get to the line in time for one more, but he'd preferably want to do it now, really, rather than the next time.
Extra Young on the bubble with the 123.565. He's on track trying to improve on that, though, but he'll only get one shot at it. All right, coming next through the last 2 corners for Waldo.
Right then, Waldo. It's going to be quicker than a 49.2, that's for sure. And it's good enough for
22.4.
Yeah, good enough.
All right, so now Torpedo is on the bubble with a 23.0, with Levin and Collie Boy trying to run him down. But the clock is saying Collie Boy's not going to advance.
No.
He's invalidated this lap.
So it's down to J-Leb.
Extremely slow. Levin is out of fuel, I think. And time's up. That's it. And Yun improves up into 9, so it's up to Torpedo. Can Torpedo take about 2/10 off that lap in order to beat Smoothie and get into the next round?
Yeah, so we're down to Torpedo. Can he...
Oh, Find Waldo's had a spin
dear.
after his lap, but it doesn't matter. He's good.
I think the thing for drivers now who are safe, so from Young, from Asda down to Young, is just to get to the pits without crashing.
Not a great run for Torpedo in Sector 3. He's going to abort. He knows that he can't advance. And with that, that would be basically the end of the session because the other drivers on track already are in the next round. They're just on cooldown laps. Will likely just come around to come into pit lane.
Yeah, they're not going to set times now. So, Q3 is sorted.
It sure waited a long time to get sorted with 2 crashes and 2 drivers not even able to set times whatsoever. And then even Find Waldo, though he does advance in the very end, he waited a long time to get it in.
Yeah, and Smooth's just gone quicker. And Young as well. They've both gone quicker. So
indeed, so that will move him up to 8th and 9th.
Yeah.
But with this in mind, session's basically over. We're just waiting for Find Waldo and XRL Pelly to officially retire in pit lane to bring a close to Q2.
And there we are. So, unfortunately, we are saying goodbye to 5 drivers in Q2. They are in 15th place, Fletch, who unfortunately got disqualified from the session for facing the wrong way. Cooley Boy in 14th. He couldn't set a lap time after trying for so long. He couldn't get it done. The Lone Retreat, who DNF'd, will be P13. J-Leb, again, same as Cooley, tried for so long to set a lap, but unfortunately couldn't. And XRL Torpedo will be in 11th with a 123.0.
And like I said, if you're in the 122s, you would be at a good position to go for the pole shootout. All 10 drivers who make it into Q3 all set times in the 122 range. The spread's only about 1.1 seconds from 1st to 10th, so this could be an interesting fight for the pole position. Obviously, Oz has been out there dominating the last 2 sessions, but now no one's going to be sandbagging. No one has to hold back. Everyone can just go hard to try and run him down.
Yeah, everyone can do what they like, have as little fuel as they need to set a lap, and they will.
All right, first driver to get onto the track in this session looks like it's going to be RB Llama, and right behind him is going to be XRL Ozda by the looks of it.
Well, RB Llama. Asda had a really good Q1 and Q2. I'm really wanting to do the same here. Have a good Q3 and he'll be on the front row.
And Edgar now comes out of pit lane, and he's bringing with them a small train of cars. That's XRLO, who's coming out of pit lane now. That's also Find Waldo, who's coming out of pit lane. Also Mr. Neon coming out. And behind them, XRL Pelly is on the run down pit road, as is Javis John. So in a brief moment, everyone who's not in a McLaren is going to be on track.
You see this a lot in Q3. Once one driver goes out on track, everybody else follows.
Right now, Llama is in the best position. It takes you about 4.5 minutes to get a lap in. It's a 12-minute session. So if Llama is going for just under-fueling laps, what he can do is he can set this lap, come right into the pits, put new tires on, do another run, come in, put new tires on, and he'll get one more lap just as the session is coming to a close. He might have timed this well enough to get 3 shots at the pole. right, now we're seeing one of the McLarens coming down pit road. I think that is Smoothie. I might be wrong, though, as Llama and Ozda cross the line to begin their flyers.
So Llama took that nicely.
Very smooth through Sector 1. Looks relatively smooth in Sector 2 as well right now.
Yeah, it's all about the chicane, I think. Get this, keep it clean around there, and he's on for a decent lap.
Everyone with the exception of
Oh,
Extra
dear.
Yan, and he invalidates in the chicane.
Chicane.
So now the focus goes to XRL Ozda. Ozda very low on fuel, so he's going to be super light coming across the line. Good news for Llama, though, is that it happened early enough in the lap that he's able to start pulling it back. If he wants to go for another flyer, he can. If he wants to bring it into the pits, he can easily do it. All right, coming out of the final corner for Ozda, he will set the benchmark that everyone else has to chase.
What can
And it will
Ozda
be
do?
a time of 1:21.603.
A little bit quicker than what he's been doing. Than what he did in Q2.
Here comes the Ferrari of XRL Edgar out of the final corner. On the run down to the line, it will be a 1:21.898.
Not enough.
And now he'll be joined by Lowe coming across the line. Lowe is going to try to set time 123.029.
And Waldo crossed the line. Waldo, it's a slow one, a 128.0.
Yeah, he must have
Neon.
had an instant somewhere that made him decide to back out.
Yeah,
It's
Mr.
5 seconds off.
Neon
Neon's 9 seconds out of Ozda's time.
Jevis, 122.4. Pelly's invalidated and going into the pits.
And now the focus goes to Smoothie 25, and Llama's invalidated this lap as well, so it's only Smoothie 25. He'll be the 7th driver to set a lap time, assuming he doesn't invalidate or crash here. Good exit.
Oh, Waldo with a little wobble.
All right, Smooth coming to the line in that McLaren. His teammate Jan has not left pit lane yet. Smooth will set the benchmark for the McLaren team, 122.453.
Mr. Neon invalidated.
It looks like
Waldo.
everyone is coming back into pit lane now, with the exception, obviously, of Smooth, who is still on the lap.
So Waldo, this lap's going to be quicker. Will it be quick enough? It'll be quick enough for second place.
121.879, so outstanding job on Waldo's part.
Good stuff. And he
Three
can go
drivers
quicker
in the
as well.
121s.
And Waldo can go quicker as well. Like, that's not the...
But he's low on fuel, though, so I don't know if he'll be able to go quicker and still go full bore for a lap. You don't want to, go full bore, get a great lap in, and then run out of fuel lap and get disqualified for being a hazard on the track.
Of course, but...
Yeah, he's calming down.
Of course, but he...
Waldo's calmed down. He's 3 seconds down now, so yeah, he's definitely on a cooldown lap at this point.
Yeah. Smooth.
Yeah, Smooth's on a cooldown lap. He'll be coming back into the pit lane, but it looks like Ozda is coming back out of pit road, back down pit road right now, about to go for another run at it.
So the focus turns to Asda then on an outlap. Just come out of the pits.
And the good news for Ozda, the entire track basically is clean. No one else on track except for Waldo, and Waldo's close enough to pit lane entry right now that when Ozda gets there, he won't be there. So yeah, as long as people aren't trying to file out of pit road right as Ozda's coming by, this is just about perfect for him.
Yeah, he's got 2.4 laps of fuel. Just enough. That looks like an Aston Martin coming out of the pits, and Haas as well going into the pits.
So Mr. Neon now making the run down.
Yeah. So Mr. Neon on an outlap. About a sector and a half behind Asda.
The main question is going to be Low, Pelly, Llama, and Yun. Low has set a lap, but it's not super competitive. Pelly, Llama, and Yun have yet to set laps. I'm seeing movement in the Ferrari camp, and it looks like that's Edgar, who's already on the way, coming back out onto the circuit. Llama on the way back out as well. They're going to be right in front of Ozza, as Ozza's in the middle of his lap. This is not ideal for him.
Llama lets him go by, and the Ferrari is just ahead, is heading off, so it's not going to affect him as much. 4 minutes left now in Q3.
Very good job clearing the curbs by Ozda at the end of Sector 1. Now they go into Sector 2.
Yeah, purple sector 1. Nice. Now on the run down to the end of sector 2, beginning of sector 3.
He's up by even more time.
Really nice chicane, opens up DRS.
He's going to catch Pelly at the very end of this lap. Might be enough to get a slight draft off him down the straight. But Ozda, outstanding job. Already the fastest on the timesheets. Looks like he might be able to go faster. 121.313. That puts him a full half second over the next fastest driver, Waldo.
Waldo's on an outlap currently. Mr. Neon was a hot lap but has slowed down for him, so not on a lap.
Llama
yet.
in the middle of a lap right now. Pelly and Yun still in pit lane, although as I say that, Pelly is making the way out of pit road. Yun has not made an attempt to get on circuit this entire session.
Edgar has invalidated his hot lap. Mr. Neon, I'm not sure what he's doing, but he'll be going. He's got 3.7 laps of fuel in his car. So he
Where are you seeing their fuel, the amount of fuel they have? Because I don't
on
have the
their
ability
steering
to see
wheel.
that.
On their steering wheel. Underneath the lap number, it has a little number. His says 3.7.
Oh.
So if you
Okay,
ride on
that
board, you
explains
can
it.
see it on there.
All right, well, Neon now has relatively clean track ahead of him,
Yeah.
and he can go hard for this lap.
The only car ahead is Waldo, who is on a lap, so shouldn't catch him.
Young clatters over some of the curbs. Very smoothly, though. This could work out well for him. Llama finally down with a 121.893. That's the third best time thus far.
Oh, look at the time difference between second and fourth. Asda says that he's done enough to get the pole position and has retired from the session. Thinking he's done.
I don't blame
enough.
him. He's a good half second over the next three closest guys. But yeah, like you said, look at the gap between second and fourth. They're all within about 200ths of each other. That's crazy.
Mad. Can Neon split them in, get in between these drivers at all and get into the top five? Currently sitting
He's up by
in P8.
6.7 seconds at the end of Sector 2. What about the end of Sector 3 for Neon? Crosses the line,
He does get into the top
122.420. That's good enough for fifth at least. Here comes Pelly in the middle of his own lap. This will be his only shot at it. Lowe has invalidated his past lap. He needs to go again.
Pelly's invalidated. Pelly invalidated his lap. Young not.
Oh,
leaving
Jabez
the
John has had an
pits.
accident. And Jabez John in the middle of the lap that he was up on time has had an accident there in Sector 3. So he will not improve. Lowe is slowed way down on this lap, so he's not going to improve. Pelly is invalidated, so Pelly's not going to get a lap in. Yun's not going to get a lap in. So I think Smoothie is the only person. Yeah, it's only up to Smooth. Maybe Neon if Neon. Yeah, Neon's up on time as well. So Neon and Smooth trying to move farther up the order.
Waldo's invalidated, so he can't do anything, and Edgar's had a little. Edgar made it, but he slowed right down, so he's not going to be able to set a lap. So yeah, Neon and Smooth are the two drivers. And Neon in sector 3. Speed trap.
Right, coming out of the final corner now. Mr. Neon. Across the line, what will it be?
It's enough for P2.
Very nice.
Nice.
21.8. And now Smoothie is going to be the next one across the line. He's low on fuel. Burning the ERS out of the final corner. The DRS opens up. The McLaren will cross the line. He improves, but not enough to move up the grid. So he stays in 6th. And with that in mind, although Edgar is still on track, he's low on fuel and is not in position to improve. So in the end, Ozda locks out pole with Neon rounding out row 1. Find Waldo and RB Llama, row 2, XRL Edgar and Smoothie, row 3, James John and XRL Low is row 4, and neither Pelly or Yun set laps. By the end of Q3, they will round out row 5.
Yeah, Young didn't get out the pits, and Pelly unfortunately invalidated his only chance.
Alright, so now we look at the final top 10 results. Outstanding job by Ozza, top at P1, top at P2, top at P3. Now I got to talk with Ozza earlier. He was fighting for podium positions in the X1 race. And those drivers are supposed to be faster. So, yeah, I'd be very concerned for if you were a driver here for the X2 race today. Ozza might not be in championship contention, but he can definitely steal a lot of points from the various title contenders right now with the pace that he has.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do in the race. If that's his pace in quali, then in the race he's going to be challenging for that win. Anyway,
yeah, if we have a long enough green flag run, Ozda could theoretically get far enough ahead of the field that he could get a free pit stop if he can maintain that sort of pace throughout the race. No guarantee that's going to happen, though.
No. However, I will be back in a mo. I'm just going to go get a drink and stuff.
All right, real quickly, we're going to go ahead and look at the circumstances in the points scenarios for XRL X2. So when it comes to the Manufacturers' Championship, from the bottom to the top, Alpine only sits on 67 points. They really need to start turning things around there. The only team that have not yet gotten triple-digit points this season. The AlphaTauri team, 116 points in 9th. The Alfa Romeo team in 8th with 125 points. Red Bull is 7th with 146. Williams is 6th with 169. They're just 2 points out from McLaren, who is 5th. 4th is Aston Martin with 173 points. The Scuderia Ferrari team is 3rd with 200 flat. 2nd is Mercedes with 265 points. Haas is leading with 311 points. And then you go ahead and you look at the Drivers' Championship. 19th is Fable. He's only earned 1 point this entire season. Mr. Shmee is 18th. He's only earned 16. Lone Retreat has earned 27 points. Carlos Jackson has earned 29. There's a tie for 14th between RB Llama and XRL Ozza. Both of them has 34 points. XRL Yun is hanging out there in 13th. He has 39 points. 12th is Mr. Neon. He has 43 points. Then you have 11th. That's XRL Low with 49 points. 10th is Vertex with 53 points. He's just 2 out from Jay Basjan, who is 9th with 55. XRL Zola has 60 points, just 1 point out from XRL Torpedo, who is 7th. The two Ferraris hanging out in 5th and 6th, with Pelly at 91 points and Edgar with 109. 4th is Smoothie, 25 with 117 points. Then you get to your 3 championship contenders. XRL Matrix is 3rd with 147 points. 2nd is XRL Dino with 149 points. And 1st is XRL Waldo with 163 points. So Waldo opening up a small gap, a relatively decent gap, honestly. I say small, but it's honestly been a decent gap between himself and the other drivers. So there could be a chance that Waldo might be en route to locking up another title here. Now we just stand by, waiting to get underway for the race itself.
Goodness me.
Just stand by right now, waiting to get underway. Fiend, per usual, I just want to ask, would you be willing to check the back of the grid, keep an eye on it?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'll definitely keep an eye on that. As soon as we get underway, anyway.
Yep. We're about to finally get underway now, by the looks of it. Loading onto the circuit shortly here. Ozda dominated Q1, Q2, Q3. Can he continue that into the race itself? Or will it be Find Waldo looking to lock up his championship that can out-drag him to the line? As we load onto the circuit, the lights are coming on. 4 lights, 5 lights.
And we're off.
That's lights out, and away we go here. And right off the bat, Mr. Neon with a great run down the straightaway. Drag even down to the line. It looks like coming through. Turns 1 and 2. Ozza comes off circuit just a little bit, but the top 2 get away.
big contact between the two McLarens, and I think Zola got involved in that as well, unfortunately. VSC,
that is a virtual safety car.
Both of them are still
and it goes from bad to worse for the McLarens, but you are right, they are still in it.
Both of them have Smooth I don't think has much of a broken wing. Young definitely has no front wing, and neither does Zola.
Flavor seems to have gotten away with it okay. What about Matrix, one of your championship contenders? He's gotten away with it cleanly as well. The Lone Retreat did a good job recovering from that. He's all recovering from his accident qualifying. He's up to 9th now.
He is, yeah.
And because this is a virtual safety car, the good news is we'll be back under racing conditions sooner rather than later. And Mr. Neon might get a chance at Ozda before he realizes it.
Yeah, it'll be out for maybe about a lap or so, give or take, and then go in. So Zola, Smooth and Young will all want to get into the pits as quickly as possible and out before the end of the VSC, more than likely. Although
those three will be at risk, sadly, of going a lap down. So obviously they will want to see another yellow flag come out.
And we're back underway.
Right, and Waldo is putting pressure on Neon right away, as Neon doesn't seem to be quite able to keep up with Ozda coming out of turns 1 and 2.
They're getting past Fletch. Something's happened to
Fletch had an incident. Yeah, Fletch has had a spin coming out of turns 1 and 2. Now he's not hit anything by the looks of it, but he will drop to about 15th, might even 16th position. Dino gets by Levin, so the other Mercedes driver now working his way up through the grid as well.
Llama less than 2 tenths behind Waldo, but not really. And Waldo goes wide. So RB Llama going up into 3rd place, and damage for Waldo.
That's not looking good for Waldo. Your championship points leader, now front wing damage, so he will have to pit and repair it. This is great news for the likes of Mr. Neon and Matrix. And Llama has lost the position to Edgar now, as Edgar drags him down the straight.
So Llama up into 4th.
Davis Don hanging out there in the 5th position, ready to try and make something happen. Ozda already opens up a 1.3 second gap on Mr. Neon, and Waldo finally comes into the pits to start repairing damage now. As does Fletch.
Fletch with a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane.
We should, assuming that we don't get a full course safety car real shortly here, we should see DRS come enabled on the next lap. Oh, and Lowe's out!
Yeah, saying that low DNS.
Oh, and that's right in the middle of the racing line.
Wow.
Christ alive, and that's a virtual safety car. Lowe, what happened to him?
Yeah, I'm surprised that's not a full one, considering he's in the middle of the track. Jesus.
Trying to get Low in here real quickly, see what happened. But yeah, that car stationed right in the middle of the circuit, not ideal. That will help the likes of Fine, Waldo, and Fletch a bit, because they will lose a little bit less time repairing their damage earlier. All right, coming into the party now is XRL Low. Low, big accident. What in the world happened that took you out so early?
I actually changed my setup from X to yeah, pretty disappointed right now.
Alright, absolute shame to see that happen for you. The only driver in the Alfa Romeo camp for today's race as well, which just kind of makes it doubly problematic. Do you think you'll be able to rebound next week, though, at Yas Marina?
Yeah, Yas Marina is actually, I'm really good at that track. I got a decent pace on it, but the thing is, it's going to be complicated like this track is, where there's going to be lots of traffic and you can't make any mistakes. Got to keep the wing clean. So, you know, another challenge, but Yeah, we'll just have to learn from today, and I'm never changing my setup again. I can't believe I literally changed my setup to favor the mediums for my second stint, to be honest. And it screwed me on the softs, and I didn't realize how much it would have. And it's crazy. I went from running an X1 22 twos to 23s in X2. It just made no sense. Like I was just like blown away from it. So yeah, now back to the drawing board for the next race. So the race, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, see you
All right,
next
thanks
week.
for
Good
talking
luck.
with us, Lo. Shame to see you out like this.
Yeah, guys. GG. Sorry.
All right, there's a little bit of an interesting fight that's developed for the 10th place position. Collie Boy and Matrix right there behind Levin. No one really in a position to do anything to him, though. Matrix making a good fight of it there in 12th on medium tires, while the guys he's chasing down are on softs. And again, I want to point to the lone retreat. Started the race on mediums, wasn't even in the top 10 at the race start. He has worked his way up into 7th position. But now he has to start being defensive against the likes of XRL Torpedo and XRL Dino.
Matrix had to back out there, hits the back of J-Leb. Something might have happened between, oh my gosh, he's all picking up here. So now J-Leb goes into the back of Cooley, which lets Matrix go past. Yeah. J-Leb down to 12th, Cooley up to 10th, and Matrix up to 11th. So can Matrix get close enough to Cooley Boy in the next DRS straight, or will he wait for the main straight? He'll probably have to wait until the main straight because he looked a little bit too far behind now.
And he will use the DRS to close in a little bit. Still hanging out a little bit more than 3/4 out from that Red Bull.
I'm not sure if he got damage actually from hitting the back of the car in front. But he does stay out, so maybe not. Probably not.
There's also another fight even farther back. Flesh has confined Waldo there. Oh, and Llama!
Oh, he's in the middle of the track as well. And that is a safety car.
And that's a full course safety car.
Had to be.
And for the likes of Zola, Smoothie, and Yun, this is exactly what they wanted to see. And Llama, frustration, and that'll be the first safety car of the day.
This will help guys like Young, Smooth, Zola, Fletch, Waldo, Flavor, and even like J-Leb, Matrix, and Cooley catch up to the front pack.
No one seemed... Well, no, I take it back. Zola will go ahead and pit, so he wants off the medium tires that he's on right now. But it looks like no one else at the back of the grid will be pitting under the safety car.
So Zola going on to
no,
a
I
fresh
take it
pair
back.
of
Yun
softs.
is coming in. Yun is coming into the pits.
So Zola planning on doing a soft now. So he will have to pit again,
Yeah,
but he'll go
he's-
onto another pair of softs.
Yeah. Big question, though, is that will they be able to get the work done on Yun's car before Ozda comes by? Yeah, it looks like that will be the case. All right, coming in the party now is RB Llama. Llama, go ahead and include your audio. Big crash coming onto the second straightaway. What happened?
I just lost the rear. I got too much on the curb and just spun.
Well, it was a nasty hit. You had a good run going. Sadly, ends early. Do you think you can rebound next week at Yas Marina?
Yeah, Australia wasn't one of my best tracks. Hopefully I can improve for next week.
All right. Well, I do want to say, shame to see you out, but thanks for being willing to jump in and speak with us real quickly.
No problem.
All right, so some interesting decisions under the safety car. A bunch of drivers near the front. Edgar, Jabus John, Pelly, and Torpedo, they elected to go ahead and pit under the safety car. This has dropped them down to the back of the top 10. Jalebin also pit. He's now come out 12th. Fletch overtakes Waldo as Waldo elects to pit as well. So, yeah, this will shake up the field a lot. Not by a massive amount, but it definitely changes the order of the race, to say the least.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Also,
I mean, sorry.
one other thing to note: we're likely not going to see the green flag until about lap 9 because Zola and Yun are both a long way out from catching the back of the grid right now.
Yeah, they are. Zola on the back of Waldo as well. And Young just crossing the line, so there's about 2 sectors between Young and the safety car queue. So we could be
Yeah, if we
looking
were
at
at a
another
track
lap.
like Baku, if we were at a track like Baku or Monza where we have a lot of long straightaways, they'd close in quicker. But this is one of the worst tracks to have to make up time under the safety car because there's so many short straights that you don't really get to differentiate your speed compared to the speed of the slower field.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the safety car has to go at a certain speed, which means you are going to catch up eventually, but like you said...
Collie Boy has elected to pit now under the safety car. He waited a while to do it, and he's going to drop way back the grid in the process.
Yeah, down into...
Not sure what this... He's going to fall to about 13th position. It's a bold strategy. I don't know why he wouldn't have decided to make that decision earlier.
On mediums, then. So he's chosen to go onto mediums. Why are these two trying to go side by side? I mean, they weren't for long, but still. So Young is down to about a sector now. So the gap between Young and the queue is about a sector, give or take.
Yeah, that's what it seems to be. The lead pack is hanging out about 125 miles an hour on the straights. Yun gain up only about 50 miles faster in the straights, though, so yeah, it's going to take him a long time to catch up. The good news, though, is that Find Waldo, less than 4 seconds out from the back of the grid. He's caught the back now, and Find Waldo, he'll catch right afterwards, as will Zola. And once those two catch, it will just be a matter of time for Yun. So it looks like we should be going green this lap. Lap 9.
Looks like it could be a late call, though, if it is going in. It's a little bit hit and miss as to if it is going to go in or not sometimes on this game.
I think Yun's close enough that they'll go ahead and call him in, though.
And it is
safety
in.
car in this lap. All right, so how does Ozda elect to back up the field? The lone retreat started back there in about the 14th position. He's going to restart, though, in third on medium tires, while the drivers ahead are on worn softs. What can the lone retreat do to Mr. Neon? And how badly will Ozda back up the field, coming to the green flag?
So Young has caught up now. And he's gone.
And we are underway. Alpine in the wall, that's Fletch.
Oh, Fletch ended it on the restart.
Yeah, Fletch put the power down coming out of the last corner, and the car went right around to the inside wall. That'll be the third DNF of the day now.
Dear, oh dear.
Can you try to get Fletch in here real quickly?
I can try.
As Flavor now loses the position to Levin. Levin using the fresher medium tires to get by Flavor's old ones. Ozda already 1.1 second. Oh, and Torpedo's had an incident now.
Oh, Torpedo's DNF'd as well.
And that's out of turn 5, so 2 DNFs in a single lap now. So the Australian GP, sponsored by Rat Poison.
See if we can get Torpedo in here as well, shall we? There we go. So Zola only a couple of tenths off Waldo. Oh, there's a little bit of a train actually. Flavor holding
And
up.
Edgar is going to try and get by the inside of Matrix at the end of that
And
straight.
Zola.
He does get it.
Zola going for a move on Waldo at the back. And oh my gosh.
Flavor's right there, and Flavor just does not seem to be able to keep pace, and it's causing a lot of issues for the drivers behind.
It is, yeah. And that's contacts. So Zola going into the back of Flavor.
And Waldo's around. Waldo falls to 15th now.
What is Flavor doing there?
Flavor's trying desperately to let the other drivers go, but he's causing them more issues than anything else.
Yeah, by letting them through, he's causing more issues than he would like. Sometimes the decision to let people through might not always be the best one. You may need to just pick and choose rather than just panic and do it in one go. That's what could happen.
Well, at the front, it's Ozda and Mr. Neon. The lone retreat has closed back in a little bit to Neon. And also, something else of note, no time penalties for anyone right now except for Edgar, who has 8 seconds worth.
So if Edgar pits, he'll get 5 seconds, or 5 seconds in there. Jebus John on the back of Matrix. That's enough. Not the best overtaking opportunity. That corner isn't anyway the best place to overtake. So let's see then if we can get close enough here. Also, Young only just about 4 tenths behind.
Neon's pitted out of second position.
Okay. Off the soft tires.
Neon's going. Yeah, and he'll probably run mediums and then throw on softs again late in the event if there's a late race yellow. But for Neon, though, he's dropped out of the points paying position. He's going to fall all the way to dead last on the track by the looks of it. So.
Yeah, he will do.
Yeah, that's. The thing is, the soft tires that him, Oz, and Dino are on are the same tires they've been on all day long.
Yeah, Jebus John's beached himself.
He's not the only one. There was a Ferrari. That's Pelly who's gone off as well back there.
Jebus John has beached himself. He cannot get moving again. He's trying his best, but it's just not happening. And he's been disqualified for being parked at a dangerous location. Oof.
Pelly will be able to get on and keep moving, but for Jebus John, frustration and aggravation to say the least.
Let's see if we can get him in the party. Where is he? There he is. Let's see if he can jump in. Yeah,
the good news is for Neon, that will get him back up to 13th at least. For Ozza, though, here's his problem. Those soft tires will start falling off sooner rather than later, and he needs to get onto a different set of rubber. He has a good 2.4 second gap over a lone retreat, but pitting here takes you about 24 seconds. Looking at the interval from the leader right now, if he was to pit, he would fall back there to about 11th, 12th, 13th position. Ozza needs to stretch out this gap and push hard on these soft tires, so when he does pit, he's not going to lose as many spots.
100%. Asda, you can go 12, 13 laps on soft, so he's got maybe this lap and maybe one more if he wants to push it. The gap is 2.3.
Zola struggling. Zola's struggling back there, having a little bit of issue following in Yun's aerodynamic wake, and it's let Waldo close in. So your championship points leader, now they're in 11, trying to get back into the points paying positions.
And this train is absolutely massive, going all the way up to 6th place, it looks like. So Waldo on the back of it, you can see all these drivers. And that is
Edgar! Coming onto that back trail, and that's a full course safety car. That's good news for Ozda, because although it won't be ideal, he'll be able to pit now and can reduce the amount of damage that will come.
Yeah, so all the drivers who are on soft tyres can now pit onto fresh mediums and go all the way to the end.
And the field continues to tear itself apart, just one car at a time, it seems. We are now only down to 13 drivers left in the race. Matrix ended up taking the lead. Dino pitted as well, and those Mercedes drivers, they timed it just right. Ozza got out of the box just as Dino pulled in, and they were able to service both Mercedes without terribly harming any of them. Now, Matrix is leading, Collie Boy on relatively good mediums is second, Levin is third, Fine Waldo has now bounced back up into fourth, and everyone behind Waldo is on fresh rubber. The Lone Retreat is now on soft tires, and he may have a lot of positions on the mediums. What's he going to be able to do on the softs now?
So net P1 at the minute is surprisingly Coolie Boy. Has pitted. slightly old mediums. J-Lev behind him, same situation, and Waldo in fourth, same situation. All three of those drivers could maybe get to the end, but their tyres would be dead. Matrix still needs to pit. Asda on mediums, very fresh mediums. Lone Retreat deciding to go onto softs. Dino on mediums, and then the three at the back on mediums as well. It's only one driver on soft tyres, and that is the Lone Retreat.
Yeah, he's going to be absolutely flying compared to everyone else. The problem, though, of course, overtakes here, very, very difficult to make happen. Also, with Edgar DNFing, all 13 drivers on track, no time penalties for any of them.
Been really good driving today from these, from the X2, the X2 roster. To not have any time penalties is rather tricky, actually. At most tracks, you always find at least one or at least a few drivers get time penalties.
Well, we aren't quite halfway through the race, so obviously it could change. But it's a very interesting thing. You're absolutely right. We're so used to seeing time penalties here because, you know, track limits in this game are very, let's just say, crappy.
Yeah, sometimes they can be. Something interesting I just saw, actually. Zola letting Young past. Zola going onto the grass and Young going past him. So maybe, I'm not sure if it was a mistake or what's happening there. Interesting. Flavor in 10th in the points in X2.
But Flavor's on some of the oldest tires on the entire grid right now, and he'll likely get swarmed by the McLarens and Zola behind. I do want to say this, the two McLarens, the Smoothie and Yun, crashing into each other at the start of the race going into the first two corners. And they've not been in the points since, but that could turn around here. They can get by Flavor. So, yeah, it looks like the McLarens slowly but steadily turning their race around. And Asda, fifth on fresh mediums, and he's going to have to find a way by four drivers ahead of him on this restart. And Matrix leading the way will likely be going green lap 15, so just after the halfway point in this event.
Yeah, end of this lap, safety, well, at the end of Sector 2, beginning of Sector 3, safety car will be coming in. In fact, there we are, safety car in this lap. So Matrix still needs to box, but currently in the lead of the race. There's another safety car in the next couple of laps, he'll be fine to pit.
Yeah, that's one option. Another option for Matrix is that if the mediums aren't in that bad of condition, he's able to get away from the likes of Colliboy and Levin. He can try and open up a big enough gap on the rest of the field that he can pit without losing too many spots.
Yes, that's the other option. So let's see then.
All right. How much is Matrix, formerly known as Mr. Anderson, going to bunch up the field coming to the start-finish line? Not at all. He immediately comes out of that final corner like a cannon, opens up a good 2/3 second gap on Colliboy without an issue.
Lone Retreat with a 3-second time penalty.
Waldo comes clambering over the corner. Lone Retreat's gone by Asda's crash. Your pole center, the dominant driver today, has spun and crashed on the restart.
Unlucky for Asda there. He was running well.
And this changes the entire outlook for the race, because now it becomes Mr. Neon who got by the Lone Retreat. And the Lone Retreat also has a time penalty now, so now it goes back to Mr. Neon potentially being in a good position in this race. He just has to overtake several drivers ahead now. And now both McLarens up into the points-paying positions.
Flavor actually doing a good job of holding up Zola a little bit here. A little bit of defensive, but he lets him past eventually. Yeah, lets him past eventually. Dino on the back of the Lone Retreat.
To the inside. Can't make it stick. Hollyboy gets a time penalty there in second. No DRS yet. Will be a few laps before that kicks in. So I think for right now, everyone's just going to try and settle in line. The lone retreat trying to close back in on Mr. Neon.
Yeah, fresh soft seemed to be helping him a little bit. J-Lab once again creating a bit of a train here. While Waldo, Cooley and Matrix and Lone Retreat goes for a move on Mr. Neon, and it works.
He made it stick. Outstanding job. And this leaves Neon open to attack from Dino now.
Just be careful of Dino. But it's okay for now. So next on the Lone Retreat's list is J-Lab.
Ozza threw on a set of softs when he finally came into the pit lane. He's half a lap down, but can go potentially for fastest lap point. And if there's another yellow flag, he can put on another set of softs and try and fly up through the grid.
All Asda needs is a safety car, which could potentially happen, and we don't know that yet. We don't know if it will or not, but there is potential. And Lone Retreat is on right along the back of J-Lab.
No DRS on this straightaway, but DRS will be enabled on the second straight. So if the Lone Retreat can stay right behind his Williams teammate, he'll have a good job trying to overtake him on the following straightaway.
So this one, it won't be activated either because it's a double detection zone, but he's got a lot of traction coming out of the corner. And they're side
to the
by
outside.
Side by side, round
He's
the
got
outside.
it.
He gets it
And
done.
Neon lunges deep into the corner to deny the overtake to Dino as well.
So Lone Retreat on the soft, a really aggressive strategy from him. Gets up into fourth place and with Waldo in his sights. A little bit further back, Dino on the back of Neon. Young and Smooth are on the back of this train as well. Zola just a few seconds back.
Mr. Neon might be in position to get DRS run on Levin on this following straightaway. Levin has a bad run, invalidates, going through it. Here comes Mr. Neon. He's within a third of a second, a quarter, but not close enough to get alongside. He'll try to beat him going through the following corner as the Williams gets into the dirt side by side.
He tries it here. Just enough room to go side by side. Don't really want to do that though.
He's got
it.
It's
overtaken. Now J-Lab is open to XRL Dino, who's in two places with J-Lab.
And now it's Pelly who's going to come right behind that Williams in seventh.
Pelly
can't get a good run out of turn two though.
Pelly is under attack from Smooth now, but Smooth backs out. Doesn't try the dive bomb. Happy sitting waiting for a mistake and then taking the opportunity. Lone Retreat still trying to catch Waldo. 1.4 is the gap, but that is going down.
Big issue for Lone Retreat is that says soft tires he is on will not last to the end of the race. Lone Retreat desperately needs a safety car to come out so everyone can pit and he can try to muscle his way up. Mr. Neon now gets a time penalty, trying to hold Dino behind him. And Neon Smith, and he's crashed! Neon. The entire rear end ripped off, coming onto that that third DRS straight. He is out of the race now. Levin gets by Pelly as Pelly is off circuit. I wonder if Pelly may have taken down, and Pelly spins all by himself. Out of the top 10 positions, he will fall to 10th, maybe even 11th if Flavor catches up in time. And the field continues to tear itself apart piece by piece. Smoothie gets by Levin now. Trying to get Mr. Neon in here.
I've sent him an invite. See if he joins. So Lone Retreat.
The Neon is one of your, if memory serves correctly, Neon is one of your championship contenders. Now he's out of this. All right, coming in at the party now is Mr. Neon. Neon, go ahead and include your audio. Massive accident. What happened out there?
Just run a little wide on the exit of the middle chicane. Yeah, it's nasty that kind of is if you turn in it.
Well, not a great run for you to say the least. Do you think you'll be able to rebound in a few weeks' time, though?
Yeah, definitely. That was a strong race for me. I could have had a potential win there, podium at least, and I've just messed it up massively. But never mind. Forget about it. Move on to the next race.
Alright, well, great, at least, confidence that you can rebound. Here's hoping it works out for you, mate.
Cheers, bro. Have a good one.
Alright, Matrix is pitting out of the top spot under green flags, and he's going to lose a bunch of time. Again, when it comes to championship points, I'm sorry, it was not Neon who's in the title fight, it's Dino who I'm thinking of. Dino's currently hanging out in the 4th position, and that means that he's still behind Find Waldo. So right now, your championship leader, Find Waldo, despite being involved in accidents early on, is up there in second for the lead. He's in the lead. Contact with Collie Boy.
Contact with Collie Boy, and that leaves the Lone Retreat. So Lone Retreat up into second place as well, right on the back of Waldo.
Lone Retreat needs to make this overtake and make it fast because he knows that says soft tires he's on will be burning off sooner rather than later.
They will, and he's
got a
for it
great
now.
run.
Round the outside, he's going to try it. And he makes it stick as well.
And Waldo gets a time penalty trying to cope with it as well.
He's away now in clean air. Now's the chance he has to make a gap. But can he make one that's big enough?
He's not going to be able to make one big enough to
Collie
easily
Boy
clear everyone else when he pits. But the good news, Collie Boy's got a run on Find Waldo. Can't make it stick, though.
Go for it in the end. He had a little bit of a run, bit of slipstream. Lone Retreat.
When does Lone Retreat make his pit stop? Dino is right there in 4th as well. He sees Find Waldo. He needs to get by that Haas in order to start turning his championship hopes around. 9 laps to go. Collie Boy has a run on Waldo, but was not close enough to do anything at the end of the straight. Collie Boy, really bad exit out too.
Yeah.
He's into the grass.
So now we've got a 4-way fight for the lead. Lone Retreat, Find Waldo, Collie Boy, and XRL Dino.
While all this is going on, it will be good for the McLaren drivers in 5th and 6th. They have tires that should be able to last them to the end, same with Dino. And Dino also doesn't have time penalties, so Dino is probably in the best scenario of everyone in the top 4 right now. Lone Retreat, those tires are not going to last to the end of this race, I'm sorry to say. Or if he tries to make them last to the end of the race, they are going to be absolutely screaming at him by race in. For Lone Retreat, he desperately needs a full course safety car, or at least a virtual safety car, so he can pit and reduce the amount of time he'll lose. Dino has a run on Collie Boy down the DRS straight, but not close enough to do anything. Or is he? He dives to the inside.
Quite.
Thinks better of it.
Not quite, but he's getting closer. Each DRS zone, he's getting closer. He might try and make
That
a
Red Bull
move.
does not seem to be very smooth going through Sector 3, and that's working out well for Collie Boy. Coming onto the main straight, once again, the Mercedes opens up the DRS zone.
And he's going
Red
for the
Bull
move.
does not have DRS for defense. This should be an easy textbook DRS overtake, and it is.
It is, yeah. Easy overtake. And he's got DRS again because of the double detection zone. He gets to close the gap a little bit on Waldo.
Only 12 drivers left on track right now. Ozda is back there in 11th. He has a 10.5-second gap on Flavor, and he's trying desperately to run that down so he can get around Flavor and take at least 10th place position points.
He does have the fastest
realistically,
lap.
but what Ozda really wants, I imagine, would be a full course safety car. In fact, I think there are more people who want a full course safety car than drivers who don't want it right now.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, Lone Retreat's doing well. I wonder what his tyres are like. I'd love to be able to see his MFD here just to see what where he's got, but unfortunately we don't have access to that. Yeah.
Matrix uses his fresh soft tires to get by Zola, so Matrix is steaming up the grid right now, but he's still another 5.7 seconds out from Levin. So while he's got a great run going for him right now, the decision to go on the soft tires is paying good dividends for him. The counterpoint is that he has way too much time and way too many spots to make up. He's actually going to lose ground in the championship right now. Smoothie right there behind Collie Boy now. Collie Boy in that Red Bull just cannot keep that car with any good pace through the corners, and he's hemorrhaging time.
Nah, his tyres are 15 laps old, and they are dying. Lone Retreat in a couple of laps. He'll have to pit in a couple of laps. I think maybe 2-3 laps max he's got left on those tyres. Up in first place.
Yeah, as this is going on, the circumstances are becoming worse and worse for a Lone Retreat. They're bad for Waldo. Dino is in the best position of everyone in the top 3. The circumstance, one small advantage that Lone Retreat does have though, fresh air going around the tires of that car, so that means that he will be able to have slightly more grip than normal, but still, again, I see no way that Lone Retreat's able to make that set of tires last to the end of this race.
It's a miracle if he does, but with clean air the clean air means he won't get as much wear on the tyres. So at the minute, 10 lap old tyres is 10 lap old soft tyres is okay actually. It's not the end of the world for him. He can still make it, but he's going to lose a lot of time near the end.
Yeah, that's the thing. I imagine his tires are going to fall off a cliff in the next 2 to 3 laps, and at that point, I don't see any way he'll be able to hold off Fine Waldo or Dino.
Yeah, and he's not been able to make as much of a gap as he would have liked to second place Fine Waldo or third place Dino. Sorry.
I think one thing that Dino would love to see is for Lone Retreat to get just far enough away from Waldo that Waldo would not be able to get DRS anymore, and then he'd be able to use DRS to close on that Haas, but that's not happening. So right now, these top 3 drivers seem to all be kind of stuck where they are on the racetrack.
We're stuck in limbo a little bit, aren't we? Smooth is catching up a little bit, 2.2 behind.
Ozda now by Flavor, as Flavor finally gets off the tires that he's been on since the race start pretty much. So Ozda now in points paying position, but still 22 seconds out from Zola. And Ozda is also in a scenario where I'm not 100% sure if Ozda's tires will last to the end of the race. The good news for Ozda is that he has about 3.5 seconds over Pelly, so he can afford to see them fall off a bit, and I think he'll still walk out here with 10th place points. So the focus is still on the top 3. Levin, another time penalty back there at 7th. He's losing time to Matrix, so it looks like Matrix will be able to at least pick 7 off of him.
They want Matrix caught pretty quick, didn't he? It was only a few laps ago he was 5 seconds behind. Now he's less than a second behind now, so he'll have DRS on the main straight.
Dino closing on Waldo down the main straightaway, but not close enough to do anything. Does the same thing on the subsequent straight. Matrix behind Levin, not able to do anything on the first straight. What about the second one?
Second one, he's got a good run. Lots of slipstream. Goes to the outside, lets him pass really in the end.
Very smooth overtake by Matrix. He's up to 7th now. He's only 3 seconds out from Yun. The soft tires are still going to feel nice, at least until the end of this race for him.
Yeah, he won't have to worry about tyre wear or anything. He can just go straight to the end.
Drivers who do have to worry about tire wear are the top 3. Dino seems to be having trouble staying behind Waldo. I think his tires are starting to fall off as well.
But Dino's tires are 6 laps younger than Waldo's.
Yeah, but he's been spinning this entire time in the aerodynamic wake of the cars ahead of him, so he's been accumulating gradually more wear than Waldo and Lone Retreat. But I'm not sure if the top 2 have tires that can last to the end of this race. By now, I'm sure the Lone Retreat's tires are about to start falling off a cliff.
Lone Retreat, 12 lap, old tires. He's going to take
that step out there, coming into the final corner.
He's definitely going to take him to the end, isn't he? Waldo, though. Does he have a bit of a run on Lone Retreat?
Oh, he has a great run on him.
Oh, he's going to go
for it into the lead. Contact! And then Waldo's around! Your points leader! Around! And spins out a second! And he's going to drop a bunch of position! And he gets speared! And he's out! Your points leader is out! And Collie Boy's involved as well! Somehow that's not a full course yellow, but your points leader finds Waldo out of the race after going too hard after the Lone Retreat. and that changes the entire championship battle.
Goodness me. How is that not a... Oh, it's not a safety car because it's too close to the end of the race. Luckily, Michael
And
Massey
Collie
is not
Boy,
in charge
bad
of this
news
game.
for him because he has front wing damage after spearing into the side of Waldo and ripping the tire off that car, so Collie Boy is likely going to fall out of the top 10.
Matrix on the back of Young.
At the front, Dino hanging out in second with the lone retreat leading. Dino, who's second in points coming into this, might back into a victory here. Dino just needs to stay within 3 seconds of the lone retreat and avoid getting time penalties, and he can take this win.
All Dino needs to do is stay with the lone retreat. Doesn't even need to overtake him to get the win.
The big counterpoint to that, though, is that Smoothie 25 and the McLaren is third. The McLarens have rebounded fantastically from that lap 1 accident. They're in third and fourth right now, although Matrix is going to overtake Yun for that position, so now Matrix is up in the fourth.
In fact, lone retreat, if the race were to end now with 3 laps to go, lone retreat would jump down to third place with that 3-second penalty.
Collie Boy in pit lane, it looks like he's going to fall to about 10th position, so still within the points, but frustrating. He could not do anything against Fine Waldo.
Unfortunately not.
Dino right there within DRS striking range of lone retreat. How aggressively does he push?
Maybe not as hard as he normally would. I mean, if lone retreat didn't have any penalties, then of course he'd push as hard as he can to overtake, but as it stands, I reckon he's happy just sitting behind him, going to the end of this race. Smooth over a second behind, so won't have DRS.
All right, coming onto the main straightaway will be 2 laps to go at the line. The lone retreat has a good exit out of the final corner. Dino, though, has DRS. He's got a huge run down the straight. I think he's going to try and make the move. No, he backs out mid-straightaway. He does not want to overtake the Williams, apparently.
Yeah, back out of that one. No need to overtake just yet. And now with 6 seconds
lone
of
retreat, another
penalties,
time penalty.
6 seconds of penalties then will push him to 4th, maybe even 5th. If it stays like this. Time penalties really hurting.
I think the tires are what's really hurting the lone retreat. He's been struggling in a lot of the higher speed corners. Those tires do not seem to be holding grip any longer.
Yeah, as it stands, he will be moving down to 5th, which pushes Dino into 1st, Smooth into 2nd, and Matrix into the podium of 3rd.
Matrix is still flying. If something happens to the top 3, he is easily close enough to take advantage. Coming to the white flag this time. Dino within a third of a second, within a quarter, but not close enough to do anything going into this corner here.
The thing is, he doesn't need to do anything to overtake him or to win the race.
He may have to, though, because Smoothie is close enough that if Dino keeps getting held by lone retreat, Smoothie might capitalize and breeze by both of them.
Maybe, yeah, one mistake and he's down a position or 2. Both drivers, in fact, one mistake in the down position or 2. Matrix flying down to 3.3 seconds, the gap. On the final lap of the race then, lone retreat, Dino, Smooth, the top 3 drivers.
No attempts for overtakes in the top 3 by the looks of it. Everyone here seems to be happy where they are. Oh, but low retreat, he's totally off the pace now. Look at this, Dino closes right in on him in the corners. I don't know if that Williams is even gonna make it to race in. Oh, he's in the grass! Dino's still not willing to overtake, though.
Smooth.
Matrix is closing in with speed. Matrix might lop a position or 2 off these top 3.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, maybe one mistake and Matrix is up there. Smooth, under a second. We'll get DRS here. Can he make a move? I don't think he'd be quick enough, unfortunately. Matrix.
Dino
Sorry.
Dino still not in a position to go by Lone Retreat, so it looks like the Lone Retreat will be the first driver to cross the line if he doesn't make a big mistake in these last 2 corners. Problem is, these last 2 corners are going to be the hardest on those whole old tires.
Asda within 3 seconds, but
Coming to the line. And it will be Dino victory smoothly second, Matrix third. The Lone Retreat will come home fourth. Fifth is going to be the other McLaren of XRL Young. Outstanding recovery drive by the
Asda.
McLaren drivers. Asda crashes on the last lap. Zola is going to come across the line in 7th. 8th is going to be Pelly by the looks of it. 9th will be Collie Boy. And 10th will be Asda. Crazy race to say the least.
yeah, very crazy. Lone Retreat, if he didn't have the time penalties, who knows what would have happened.
They were side by side coming to the line. Gonna try real quickly to invite some of the top finishers into the party. Flavor come across the line. He will come home 11th. Just outside of the points paying positions, but didn't really have a whole lot of pace all day today. All right, and coming into the party right now is XRL Dino. Dino, go ahead, include your audio. Not only is it a victory for you, but with the points leader crashing out, you are going to really turn the championship fight on its head. What do you have to say about your race today?
It felt good. I was very disappointed with qualifying, but yeah, I just kept it clean and didn't get any penalties, so it was good.
All right, you were behind the Lone Retreat for those last about 7 laps as his tires were falling off, but you never really tried to make an overtake. Were you just trying to preserve the lack of time penalties, or is there something wrong with your own car?
Yeah, I just didn't want to risk it. He had penalties and I didn't, so I didn't risk the move.
All right, well, it definitely worked out for you in the end, to say the least. Outstanding job, a victory here. And again, with Find Waldo crashing out, you should be walking out here with the championship lead in the driver's standings. And your teammate Azza did come home with fastest lap point and 10th. Well, I think he had fastest lap point. Yeah, Azza fastest lap point and came home 10th, so an outstanding J for Mercedes and Manufacturers Championship as well.
Yep.
All right, I also want to go ahead and talk to our 3rd place finisher, Matrix. Matrix, definitely an interesting race. You made the decision late in the event to jump in, throw on a set of soft tires, and fly up through the field, and it brought you 3rd. What do you have to say about your event today?
Starting in the mediums was the right choice. You know, got me from last all the way up to P1 at the safety car. Obviously really helpful. Went on the softs because obviously I had to change tyres just the rules, and they couldn't last the long end of the race. And then the softs were absolutely beautiful. Like, they were gorgeous, flying through the field, and managed to get up to P3. Really, I mean, from last to P3, I couldn't have asked for more. Especially catching up right to the end with Smoothie, Dino, and Lone Retreat as well, right up at the end of the last straight. So I'm pleased with that overall.
All right, this also will turn the championship favorably for you, because although the gap between yourself and Dino opens up a bit, you close right in to your teammate Find Waldo in the Drivers' Championship. Do you think this puts you back in the serious hunt for the Drivers' title in X2?
Well, there was like 16 points or something between us and Waldo, and there was 2 between me and Dino. So obviously the win for him brings it up a bit, or widens it a bit, but I've got right up to Waldo now, so it's a three-way title.
All right. Well, outstanding job. Also, the only driver for the Haas to bring home points as well, so good job on the manufacturer's front there. One more driver I want to talk to, that is the Lone Retreat. You went ahead, you started on a very different tire strategy. You were running different tires than everyone else all race long. Fantastic job controlling that car to the end. Walk us through your race from your perspective. All right. Well, it was an outstanding defensive drive you had to the end there. I was in the party the entire time saying, like, dude, there's no way those tires are going to make it to the end. You made it last, all things considered, and still walked out here with a fantastic run, so. Christ.
Wow.
Yeah, Waldo trying to lunge up your inside, going into one with the DRS. You two made contact. I won't say who did anything. From my camera angle, it just looked like a racing incident. But, yeah, but you were able to survive that and held on first across the line with time penalties. Still a 4th place finish. Great job on your part, mate. All right, well, that's talking with 3 of our top 4 finishes. We've not had any luck getting Smoothie into the party, sadly. I've tried several times, but I do want to say once again, the McLaren drivers, outstanding job, crashing into each other, lap 1, turn 1, and a rebound to come home 2nd and 5th. So, amazing job. I would say driver of the day for Smoothie, without a doubt.
Definitely.
So, great job there. But, Fiend, I'm going to be honest, fantastic race. But it's come to an end. Unless you have anything else to say, we can probably start wrapping this up.
Nothing really to add. Great race from the McLarens, as you said. Dino with the win, I believe it was Dino with the win. So good result from him. Matrix getting a podium after being down the order a little bit after quali. Yeah, decent race all around.
Yep. Well, anyways, that will wrap up our broadcast here from Australia for the XRL X2 Championship. Next week, I believe it's Yas Marina.
It is
5
indeed.
p.m. UK time on Saturday for Dev. 8 p.m. UK time on Saturday for the Realistic League. 5 p.m. UK time Sunday on this channel for X1. Same time, alternate channel for X3. 8 p.m. UK time on this channel next week for X2. I've been your host, Insane Leader 13. I've been joined by XRL Fiend. Fiend, once again, thanks for having me on today. Hope you all have a good week. I want to say goodbye and thank you for checking out today's race.
See you all later.